we have Grim here. He's going to be going over some of his plays. He's going to show some screenshots, some charts, his thesis behind everything. He's done over 7 figures in net profit in the past couple of months, which is pretty impressive because the markets have only gotten harder because these traders are getting smarter and smarter. So he's going to go over his full thesis. I think this is a really, really good overview for everyone to really sit down, take their time, and take some notes here from someone who's really done the work and who has actually has all the results here live. So, Graham, if you just want to go over everything your thesis is, just show us everything that you have, as I think everyone here would really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. So I have a collection of different plays here that will kind of highlight the different types of plays. Someone could get, ones that are really high conviction, one that are a little bit more speculative in nature, and others that are some fresh coins that are just like straight out the gate. So the first one that we have here is Fred, or the first convicted raccoon. I think that something that's super important when you're going to be kind of trying to navigate the meme coin world and trying to kind of have what's relevant in front of you is you have to have a group that's kind of doing the same thing as you, that you're camping out on deck screen, or you're looking for new pairs, you're trying to keep your head in the news. And for this as an example, Fred, this is a derivative of Peanut. Mostly, I mean, if you haven't heard of Peanut yet, uh, it's something that was even referred to by Elon Musk, and it's something that's been driving the meta quite heavily recently. And Fred would be considered Peanut's quote unquote brother. So while Peanut is making new all time highs, it's kind of garnering I guess, the masses' attention. You know, me and the people in mashallah are trying to look for, well, what's the next thing? What kind of coin should we be looking for where those profits could spill over? And I think that Fred was one of the best ones that we could find in the group. Uh,
Can you just like
even though
cover
it's
them your like entry as well, and like why you entered, and then where you're currently at, and how many multiples you're up at this point? Because I think that would be really interesting for the average person to hear. And then maybe we can go over like again, like I already said earlier on, like why you aped into this and your thesis.
right, for sure. So you can see the scan right here, and like I said, there's a bunch of different tools or different people that are sharing in the group. So we bought in at 8 million market cap, and it ran all the way up to 317 million market cap, which that's already 38x. And a lot of people don't understand that compound interest, compounding your profits, you get a massive amount of money very quickly if you buy in at the right times. Like this one was just an absolute monster. Um, so yeah, I was up pretty big. I took profits at the different psychological zones. Like for example, 100 mil is obviously significant. 150 mil, 200, 300, and as you can see, kind of 300 to 320-ish is kind of what we started topping out, and now are retracing. And even from where our entry was, if you didn't sell anything, you're still up a good 10x. Um, but yeah, when it comes to coins like this, there are a lot of different methods that I would say we employ to kind of take profits. But I would say that the most reliable one, or the most beginner friendly one, for someone that maybe doesn't know how to read a chart too well, is doing it at those psychological zones, like I mentioned, 50 million, 100 million, 150 million, 200, and so on. So this
And
is Fred here.
and then again, like just going over
That's our
like
first example. And like I said, it's a derivative of some sort to peanut. And that's why it did so well. If I were to pull up the peanut chart right now, it'd be at 1.7 billion. So I still think that this actually has good potential.
and I obviously know why you bought into this, but just for like the general crowd, just for them to understand, like how did you exactly find this, and why would you even buy into it? Like obviously people are wondering right now, like why would they even buy into anything? Like what is the reasoning of buying anything for any reason, right? Like and that's obviously a good question that any average or even like intermediate person would ask, because in this market, it's getting pretty advanced compared to other years. So like I would say here, thesis, main thing. What did you see here? Why did you buy it?
If I could boil it down to something like that, I would say It was very obvious to me early on, and anyone that was, doing the trench work, they're on the computer, they're looking at the news. It's very obvious to me that there was becoming a new meta, which is, peanut is an animal that kind of got killed in a wrongful manner by the government. And obviously, the raccoon being the first convicted raccoon, an animal being convicted, you get to start to see, well, if Peanut is running this hard, I can really look at maybe some other instances and where this has happened. And they don't have it anymore, but I know that in the beginning, when Peanut was still running around like 50 to 100 million, they actually had on their website a mention of Fred. So seeing that was good enough for me, and the fact that Elon Musk had actually talked about Peanut, it was just kind of almost too good. Is like maybe a little bit too obvious for the people in mashallah. Like it's kind of like a no brainer that we're gonna get in this.
Okay, cool. And then obviously too for like the average person, just for them to understand, if I were to give like a parallel analogy, um, back in like 2020, 2021, people started seeing Tesla start soaring like crazy. People are looking at electric vehicle stocks or anything that's revolving around electric vehicles, and they were basically just buying it up just because they saw Tesla running. So this is the same thing here. People saw a token called Peanut running to, hundreds of millions very, very, very quickly. And then, shortly, like a week after, went to 2 billion plus. People are looking at that and they look at the next closest thing to Peanut. And what is it? It's his literal like roommate or whatever you want to call it, his family, the raccoon that was a part of that family. And, they wanted to buy into the raccoon because they thought that that was going to be the next runner, a part of this meta. And the meta obviously means the trend at that current moment. So that was a great, great play by you and great explanation. So, I mean, for you, do you have like a final take profit strategy, or are you looking to this, or are you looking for this to run to the hundreds and hundreds of millions?
I think when you catch something like this so early, one of the hardest things for people is to, do I hold this or do I cash out everything? And I think that when you see something like this and you look at how important Peanut is to the meme culture right now, you have to be able to keep something on. And like I said, if you take profits on the way up at those psychological levels, then when it retraces down, you have that extra money to put back in logical levels like where we're at right now. So I still think that it's going to do good, and I think that your analogy with Tesla is spot on, because when Tesla did start running, the Chinese electric vehicle car companies started running just as hard, like Neo and XPEV. I remember that same thing, and these
Lee.
meme coin markets are surprisingly no different.
Yeah, I mean it's very similar for sure, but I would just say for this, the only difference is that the meme coin markets just move so much faster. People are so much quicker to actually act and put their money into different plays, and even people just let their money simmer into different tokens for months and months and months, knowing that eventually that token is going to hit because someone is eventually going to talk about it, tweet about it, or maybe people are going to just start rallying around a certain new trend again because people know that that trend will come back around again. So it's pretty interesting how this all works. Obviously, I've been through multiple cycles. You have as well. But just for the normal people to understand this, it's pretty easy to catch up on once you get it. But then it's just about acting quick, scanning and finding these tokens and these pairs quickly, and then actually acting upon it, and then having a proper take profit strategy and risk management strategy. But if you were to go on to your next pairs, I think that these people would definitely be interested on these. And maybe if you can shout out some of your profits on some of these too, that'll be super great.
Yeah, for sure. So I think this one is probably going to be a lot more. It's going to look like it was easier than something like Fred, because for Fred you had to be around and you had to be looking in different places, things that are surrounding Peanut. What could attach to Peanut that we could grab onto, because obviously Peanut had soared so high that it was like the other ones have the better cost benefit. And like you said, these markets move so fast. Whenever I explain it to new people, I always tell them like it's essentially like Bitcoin going through its entire cycle within like maybe like an hour or 2 hours. Like that's how fast these markets move. So we got Bongo Cat here, and it's a meme that pretty much I think a lot of people would say that they're familiar with. Um, Now, in this one, part of the reason that I thought that it was a good idea to enter is, if you have tools to kind of aid you to help you, follow other people that maybe they have a good win rate. They have maybe a history of getting inside wallets, or getting inside coins earlier than other people before they take off. That's one of the really neat things that Mashallah is able to offer, is that they have these wallet tracking bots that can help you kind of tail someone who's got a really good win rate or just a good track record of getting into coins early before they blow up. So, something like Bongo Cat, we bought in at 11.1 million market cap, and it ran all the way up to 108 million point 22 market cap. So it's like I said, this is a more of a safer coin. You can see with Fred, it started at 8 million. Over here, we're starting at 11 million. Fred is kind of this new thing, while Bongo Cat is something that everyone could recognize. Um, so that's what we got here, and I also took the liberty of putting around how long it would take for something like this, and for an 870% increase on any asset to take 10 days or less is pretty remarkable. These types of markets do not always present themselves. It's actually, it's a window of opportunity that I think everyone should really take advantage of.
Yeah, which is why I think they're here in the first place watching this video. Yeah, which is why they're, hopefully here watching this video in the first place. I think that this type of shit is just super fucking cool, and like people like you are not really on the internet like that, so it's good that I'm bringing you out here to show these people what's really going on. And if you wanted to go over your entry thesis, what did that look like? Did you DCA into this? Did you full port a certain amount of Solana into this? What was the thesis coming into this? Why did you even buy it?
So, like I said, the tools that are inside Mashallah, I see a really good wallet enter that's already enticing on its own. But every good trader understands that you can't just have this one thing that you're banking on, that you have to kind of build these factors of confluence to really give you that confidence to, what, like, okay, I bought this and I'm going to hold. And as you can see from where we bought, we could have had a very tight invalidation. Believe it or not, 30% is actually a pretty tight invalidation in the world of meme coins, especially when you're risking 30% for uh, over a 8 9x multiple on your portfolio. So on top of the fact that I saw some good wallets entering, they gave me the confidence. I also recognize this meme. I think most people recognize this meme. It's a good meme. It's something you could look at and understand why people would buy it. It's just iconic. It's something that's been around for a long time. And then you see good wallets supporting it, then you know that the likelihood of you getting rug pulled, or maybe them not holding the floors and the Jeets getting the best of the coin becomes less likely. It's about limiting those risk factors, and that's why the tools themselves are so useful, as well as just you yourself knowing, hey, what's a logical entry? Where would I cut it if it went to? And where should I start taking profits?
Okay, and then even for this too, like obviously a lot of people want to enter into something maybe because they think that there's future attention that'll be on the eyes of this token, whatever it is, which would technically inherently in their mind convert to more buying pressure to drive the price up. But when you're looking at these, you obviously can't like just like you said, you can't even determine based off technical analysis most of the times on these, because you just have so many moving parts on these memes, as well as too people's attention span is so low in this space. You can even see like this token right now has $5.8 million in volume at a $78 million market cap on Solana. For a meme, I would consider that at this current point in the market a low amount of volume on like a certain day. But like we can obviously see that there's an uptrend here, which is pretty impressive. But even with you here, having an actual exit strategy, you're seeing the volume. I wouldn't say it's drying up. It's still good, but it's just below what a usual 80 million market cap token has. But like, what is your exit strategy here? Like, are you trying to wait for the hundreds of millions? Like, how do you defer and deter whether to not be greedy or to be greedy? Like, how does that look like? Are you listening to other people? What's happening exactly in your head when you're holding onto this after a fucking 10x?
Hmm. Yeah, so definitely the opinions of others is useful, c considering that they have also been in the game for a while. And I think that that's one of the best things about mashallah, is that you're being surrounded by people that have been here for a very long time. So they know the difference between what maybe say a retracement, something like this. It's easy to panic when you see that you just lost 50%. But there's a difference between a reversal and a retracement. This is a retracement, and this would be a reversal, and it goes all the way back up. So, like I mentioned about the tools in the Discord, you can also see when those big wallets are deciding to jump ship themselves. And, that's one warning sign on top of the fact of what we already talked about, which, I think that the psychological levels, if you got in at 11 million, 25 million is a good place to TP, 50 million, 75, 100. And you could see it worked out pretty reliably. You could have taken some off and then reloaded back at the lows and just kind of kept doing that while maintaining uh, a position still without having to get all the way out.
Are you
Um,
are you kind of like swing trading on your positions here, or are you more so just holding your entire bag and just DCAing out after your lower entry because you did get it at a good price? So for you, is it like, okay, do I want to keep on gambling and just keep on trading this and swing trading this chart as I already have a bunch of tokens since I bought in at such a good entry, or are you more so like, okay, let me just DCA on the way out as this thing goes up and sell into the volume? Like, what's your thought process behind that? Because I know some people want a full port, sell it all at once. Maybe that messes up the chart, and they also take a lot of loss on their sell from the price impact, so they don't get the full amount that they're trying to sell. Other people just want to sell on a 2x. Other people want to just slowly DCA out. If you want to go over your strategy for this one specifically, that'll be good.
Yeah. So I think one thing that definitely plays a role is the aggression that you see in price. Obviously we come back to Fred here. There's really no reason for me to TP when the last, 5, 6, 7, 4 hour candles have been nothing but, straight green. And that's only when you see the first red candle that you can kind of start thinking about it. With Bongo, it's all going to be a lot easier to take a swing trade position because you see it moving up and then you see it coming down. But if you kind of pay attention to the structure, you can kind of tell that more or less they're putting in higher lows and higher highs almost every time. So this type of structure is something that I'm also definitely looking for. So like for example, if price were to come all the way down here and say violate this low, is putting in a lower low, and that to me would signal a change in structure. And I'm not really gonna want to be in something fully. I'm gonna want to TP if I start to see something is kind of losing that aggression. So, like I said, looking at the wallets that you use to get in, listening to what other people are saying, maybe they're watching some wallets that have gone in, um, you know, looking at the overall structure. Definitely, all of those things help, and I think that it's why it's so important that you need to have those people that know what they're doing around you
I
to kind
mean,
of keep it
at this
based.
point, we're just talking about good problems because these are good problems, right? At least
Yeah,
your problem basically is I have too much profit. How do I properly
yeah,
use a
exactly.
strategy to basically exit on my position? So this is a good problem, and you only get into this problem if you're in the right group or if you're around the right people, and if you're hearing the right things, and if you're getting into the right place. So as we can see here, Grim constantly has good problems, which again, we're going over these different strategies, and we're just basically giving a full overview on his thought process or his thought process with this, because when you get into these good problems, it's the difference between making 10,000 and 150,000, and obviously you want to be as close as possible to that 150,000 mark, which is your max potential profit. So that's what we're trying to go over here for you guys, because there's a lot of people that are, whether it's a mistake or whether it's on purpose, are making a lot of money in this market, and a lot of people are just not fully seizing the opportunity because they're just not implementing proper strategy on their exits. So that's why we have this here. So I don't know if you
Right.
wanted to go over some other positions. I think that people would
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, and I like what you said there at the end that it's definitely a good problem, and people might not realize that, greed and fear, especially in trading, are the most predominant emotions that are kind of trying to hijack your rational decision making. And it sounds kind of funny, but you could literally be making so much money that you're paralyzed. And as we go on through the rest of these plays, we're going to see, you know, if you got paralyzed by the amount of profit that you had, how you could have gotten seriously wrecked. And like you said, it could be the difference between 10,000 and 100,000. But all in all, it's good problems to have, but still, your emotions are going to be your biggest obstacle when you're trading, because you're going to be scared you're going to lose a lot of money, or you're scared of how much money you're actually making. It could be quite staggering. So for this next play, we've got Cynthia here, and this is kind of around when the AI stuff was booming. Um, and so, I see a lot of people in mashallah talking about AI, and then I see someone post this picture in the Discord. And pretty much what it is if you don't know what Act One is, it's an incredibly successful token that ran to hundreds of millions. It's a huge coin. But someone shared this in the Discord showing that there was a alt wallet of the Act One dev, and it's showing all the transfers and that it's the top number one wallet. So those kinds of things gave me uh, my thesis, all the way back here from when the coin was barely made. Um, and we went from 335K all the way to 3 million, 3.23 million market cap, and that's 7.5x roughly. And for 6 hours, you know, people wait, like, in traditional finance markets, people wait years to try and get something like 750%. So, just to keep everyone on the same page, that like how incredibly lucrative these markets are compared to everything else around it, Bitcoin included. Uh, as you can see, 6 hours, 750% return is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, this is really ridiculous. And also, too, just for reference, a lot of people are doing this within minutes, within maybe 1 hour, they see a crazy gain. But then also, too, these are results that are not typical, guys. Like, obviously, Grim has an advantage by being in the space for a long time, having friends and circles, and obviously having, mashallah, the group, which is obviously giving him insight. Just having all these different tools around you gave you the advantage, unlike the other, I don't know, millions of other people that are buying into these types of plays. So, again, when I say these results are not typical, they're not. A very small portion of people in this space and in this market are truly making the real money. And again, I just really want you guys to realize you can't just hop in here tomorrow and then just make $1 million. There is outlier stories, but it's just not going to happen. You have to really take your time and be in the right groups to really pull off these types of things. And again, we're just showing examples of tokens, so don't just buy into these tokens just because we're showing them. We're just giving examples of the strategies that Grim has used and how he's taking profit or what he bought into. He's just giving examples, so just keep that in mind. Anything we show is not endorsed to buy whatsoever. But yeah, if you want to keep on going over this one for sure, that'll be good. What was your strategy on buying into this? That's such a low market cap.
Yeah, so like I said, if you know who the Act One dev is, and you can verify yourself, that all of these things which were posted, obviously I see it posted in the martial art Discord, and I want to investigate a little bit. I go ahead and make sure, and once I see that, it's enough for me to put uh, a bet on the board. It doesn't have to be my entire portfolio. It can be a small amount, because if you think about it, a small amount being compounded 7.5 times, it's still going to be some serious money. Even if I only put $50 in, I'm still going to walk away with a decent chunk of change. So like I said, once I bought in at 335,000 market cap, I was able to take some off at 1 million as a psychological level. And we didn't quite hit 2 million in the way that I could have taken more off, but I would have definitely. So when it came all the way back down to where it was, I'm looking at that wallet. I'm trying to see what the others in the mashallah Discord are saying, and we're all holding. So I hold through. I actually add on what I put back when we come back to pretty much what my entry was. We go back to 1 million. I take a little bit more profit, and it comes back down, and I can add that stuff back for one final run. And obviously, over here at 3 million, once that's tagged, I'm going to start taking a heavy amount of profit, because the multiples are just so high. And especially that we got a good entry, we're able to take some off and then put it back on in logical levels. That just made it such a good trade.
And even with this too, are these one of those trades that And I just need you to be specific here because there's different types of ways that we trade and like, what our strategy is behind it, obviously. And this is just different with every single play. So is this one of these plays that you bought into? You walked away from your laptop or your computer, you went and have a lunch, you were just chilling all day, and then you came back? Maybe like one of those higher market cap plays? Or did you actually like really lock in and focus on the chart on this one? And were you like really sitting at your chair just focusing on everything that was going on here?
Yeah, I would say definitely, one of the really big advantages in being in a Discord of guys that are quite literally just camping out at the computer, because a lot of the times that is what I'm doing. I'm camping out, so that I can watch for what it is that I want to see. And given that this one was over 6 hours, I did leave and come back. But I checked the Discord, see what everyone's saying. Everyone says we're still good. It gives me the conviction that I can be like, what, okay, I could go get a lunch real quick and come back. Um, but most of the time, like you just got to think about it. Like two set of eyes is better than one. So when I have, 50 experienced set of eyes all watching the same thing, we're all in the same thing. It's a lot easier for me to step back and take a little break, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, for sure. So you basically do have eyes on the chart at all times, is what you're saying, because the people in the Discord are basically giving you updates. So I guess that is good. Um, the other thing as well is with this, like, what's the difference between? And this is more so a question that I know that people in general are just going to have an idea about, because a lot of this cycle, we have guys like Murad on Twitter or whatever. We have other guys like Ansem and Crash, like these guys that have just rallied these huge tokens, and they brought them from such low levels to hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars in market cap. Like, what's the difference between you having the thesis to hold on to something and hold it with belief and conviction, knowing that it's going to be the next big thing, versus tokens like this where you're going to exit on the position, you kind of just have an idea like this shit's about, like, topped out around 3 million, so you're just going to sell and try to TP around that range? Like, how do you know the difference between these two different types of tokens? Those conviction tokens that people are going to cult behind, like Murad and all those other guys have been talking about this
Mhm.
cycle, versus these, which are just daily swing trades and just quick day trades. Um, in my like, I have my own answer, but I want to hear yours because you're obviously a different type of trader than I am. I would just say, for my point of view, before you get into this, a lot of times you can just feel it, and it sounds kind of crazy, but if you've been in the space for a long time, you can just kind of feel it, and you can just see who's rallying behind the token. And a lot of times you can just really feel it, what's going to be the next big thing. But I'll just wrap up what I was saying on that point. I just want you to get into that, exactly what your thought process is on that.
Yeah, for sure. It's a super good question, and I really agree with you that when you've been in the markets for so long, there you do build this like level of intuition where, you'll see something like this and kind of know that this is just like a derivative play off of like Act 1, for example. After Act 1 popped off, a lot of different AI things started coming out. And you kind of understand that those derivatives are not actually like the main thing that everyone is going after. So like, you brought up Murad, how he pushed that magnet emoji like super duper hard. There was a plethora of other emoji plays like the dog, the cat, the frog, the bull, all of them which are kind of obvious where it's like, okay, if a picture of a magnet is popping off, like who's to say like the dog is not going to pop off in that way? And like you said, there's definitely an intuitive approach to it. But for me personally, it really depends. I kind of ask myself, like, what's the impact of this coin on the culture, And so it's like, Peanut, people made a surprisingly big deal about it, so much so that, Elon Musk is talking about it on Joe Rogan. So this one to me is obviously going to be a lot more higher conviction to where I'm going to think, well, look, Peanut is at 1.7 billion. This right here is at 98 million, so it's still got a lot to go. Um, and to just see that there's so many people rallying behind the coin, seeing that there's important people buying the coin, seeing people that are experienced, and mashallah that I see that they're looking to bag hold. All of those different things give me a lot of confidence. And like I said, you're mainly looking at the fact that like Cynthia was not the spearhead of this meta. Like the spearhead of this meta was Act 1. So it's like Act 1 is going to be the one where it's like if you got in early, like you're going to keep those positions in, and you're even going to compound them when you take some off, and then they come back down. Whereas Cynthia is like the only reason that Cynthia is moving at all, the only reason that anyone cares about it is at all, other than the fact, maybe a good wallet got in, is the fact that, Act One is amassing a large share of the market's attention. So, you're gonna see these other AI projects that launch that are kind of similar, and you can look at the wallets, you can look at the volume, you can look to see if they have ads, all those different things, and that'll kind of give you an idea. You want to think about what's the spearhead of this meta. Peanut is the spearhead of the meta. Peanut has a brother that should also be considered a spearhead. But it's like if I just post a random animal, that got locked up a long time ago, it's like it could pump, but I'm not gonna be thinking like, oh yeah, this one's for sure gonna be, top dog. Or as another example, like with Peanut's Freedom Farm, there's a lot of different animals in the Freedom Farm. Those I would consider more to be like they have that prospect of potential carrying that like longevity forward.
Yeah, and I would say too, people just need to have not even two different types of wallets, but two different types of mindsets. They need to have their plays that they hold, right? Their conviction plays, maybe the higher market cap tokens that they know are going to just rally because more people are going to want to rally behind it as well. And then you have your plays here like Cynthia, which is more so a quick play. You know it's not going to moonshot the 20 million. You just know that it has a potential of maybe 10 max, and then you're TPing on the way up, and then once you see those resistance levels coming up is obviously when you stop losing conviction because you know it's about topped out. So I think that this was a pretty good analysis of this one as well. But even for you trading, like, are you mainly using Telegram bots? Are you using Photon, Bolex, a certain tool set? Are you using your own custom trading tools? Like, what exactly is going on with this, and how are you exactly buying into these to make sure that you're obviously minimizing slippage, you're minimizing getting meved, which we can even get into that later. That's pretty complicated for a normal person to understand. If you know about trading this stuff, then you would know exactly what I'm talking about there. So, I mean, like, what are you using to be able to get those entries that you want? Because there's sometimes just so much volume on these tokens. You want to buy in at a $1 million market cap, but then by the time your order gets processed in, it buys in at 1.4 million, and then now you're already kind of like underwater from where you want it to go. So, like, what tools are you actually using to get these entries on these plays that have these high market caps? I mean, that have
Yeah,
these high amounts of volume. Sorry.
no, yeah, that's a super good question. Definitely, like I mentioned earlier, the wallet trackers help. In terms of applications, if I'm looking for new pairs and I want to see, what's kind of rising to prominence really quickly, and there'll be another example later on down in this list where it's like, I'm just camping the deck screener new pairs and what's trending, and I see something, I visit the Twitter, I look at the website, and I kind of make my own conclusions from there. Um, you know i think that for new pairs I really like deck screener. If I want to kind of evaluate if a coin has good holders or if there's good wallets in it, I think Good Morning Good Night is probably the best site to check out the wallets. Bubble maps are good too, so that you can kind of see, maybe there's one person that's holding kind of a certain amount of supply that could be considered dangerous. Most people are kind of like cutting up their, I guess, portfolio into different wallets so that it looks more attractive to people. Um, let's see. I think also, obviously, people are one of the greatest tools because this is an information economy. If you were around when Peanut happened, you could have bought like an hour later and you still would have made an absurd amount of money, something that a lot of people can't even fathom. um, so I think that deck screener for new pairs, good morning, good night for checking out the wallets. If you don't have a Discord that kind of has a wallet tracker, or tools like we have in Mashallah, that obviously they help us out a lot and able to determine like, is this a good wallet in here, or is this guy holding blue chips, is this someone that has a kind of like trading history where they're pretty much helping the coin hold floors because they get a large amount of the supply and then they just kind of hold it, and when they offload it, they're not doing it like maniacs, they're doing it like little by little every time.
Okay.
But there's a lot of different tools that someone could use. I like to keep it simple, I don't want to have too many things going on because you could easily get analysis paralysis. I like using the people in the group, the wallet trackers, and the tools in the group. I like using good morning, good night. Um, bubble maps are good too. Looking at the different holders, checking like here, like, seeing how many snipers are still in and how much they have, checking if the dev has sold. There's a lot of different variables that you can mix into it. uh, and that's why I like having other people that are experienced, because it's like, maybe I'm looking at the wallets and you're looking at the bubble maps and you're seeing if the supply is distributed in a favorable way, and we can both share that information with each other, and we both will exchange that, and we'll be like, okay, you know what, we're both going to hold because this guy, he has this confluence, I have this confluence, and so on.
Okay, cool. I would just say I'm gonna leave the links down below in the description for you guys to see. There's a couple really good popular tools in the space that people use to actually buy and sell and trade with, like Photon and Bolex, where your transactions will actually process through faster, and you'll have a lot of different custom settings that you can use to be able to get your transactions through as fast as possible. I'll leave the links down below for that, so you guys can get access to those tools. But Grim, if you wanted to get into some of your top trades, some of your top plays, that'll be good as well too, just so people can see some what your biggest wins look like, and exactly what your strategy was behind them.
Yeah, sure. So I think that Fred definitely is one of the biggest ones. This is a 13x. This is just like some stupid drawing that someone made in
I
two
remember
different
that. That was
lanes.
a couple
Yeah,
days ago. Pretty funny little trend that happened, and a lot of people made money on this one.
yeah, and we were able to get in quite early at 718K. And the reason that I included this one is because it's one of those instances where two influencers are pushing two different coins that are pretty much representing the same thing. And all I wanted to mention on that type of play where you see two of the same coin and they're kind of going head to head, just have a little bit of something in both of them, I think is the best way to go about it. But that one was definitely pretty good. You said biggest wins. I wanted to touch on this one as well. The that we got in at 1.4 million. It's a tweet from Elon Musk, and someone decides to go out and represent it into a coin. It gives a quick 400%. Easy enough. I think this one from today. I'm not sure if you were able to see this one unfold, but Backed is the name of a crypto exchange where Trump was rumored to potentially be acquiring. And all I did is I saw it on Financial Times. As soon as that happens, I'm sending it to the Mashallah group. I'm like saying, guys, like check this out. I think maybe we might have a play on our hands. And this one today, what honestly is, it made a lot of people money. But from all the way from 635K market cap all the way to 41 million, uh, in literally under 7 hours, I think is like a pretty crazy play. Um,
That's
you know,
insane. That's a 64x.
yeah, exactly. And literally, all I did was see a Financial Times alert on my phone, and as soon as I saw it, I'm letting our group know. Mashallah, I'm telling everyone, what do you guys think? We see some good wallets entering, and it's good enough for us to at least take a gamble. Even if you would have put something small, just as a gamble, uh, it would have multiplied into an amount that you wouldn't even think like, how is it even possible that from $50 I now have like 100 grand, something ridiculous like that.
And that's one of those
Um,
plays where the volume is just absolutely insane. So it's just one of those plays. I would just say for the average and general public that when you see that much volume into something, I just would not fade an uptrend, because with that much volume, if you just have a small decrease in sell pressure, you're just going to have huge upside. So I'm not saying to buy into this token, but I'm just saying that I wouldn't be surprised if this was only our first leg, and if that news were to come out public, where let's per se Donald Trump or Elon Musk and like their entire administration were to start tweeting about this crypto exchange. I would not be surprised if this were to hit hundreds of millions. And again, this is just speculation. I'm not telling anyone to buy into this. We're just showing examples. But let's just see. Obviously, this video is going to come out soon. So again, you guys can see this other leg that's trying to come up around right here. And then there's just some resistance around the $25 million level. So I just wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Grim, you could tell me your thoughts here, but would you be surprised if you saw like another crazy leg up on this?
Absolutely not. Because I just think, like, as you said, the rumor's already there. If anything is said to do with this crypto exchange, if it comes out confirmed, if it's mentioned again, if there's, more speculative rumors on it, it's just going to keep going. It ran in 7 hours, uh, 6,450% based off of just a rumor. I can't even imagine if actually something of substance was tweeted out when this is what's been able to develop in 142 million volume. As you said, you see that kind of volume and you really have to kind of perk your ears up and think like, okay, there's some serious potential here. And you got to think about the guys in mashallah, right? They're riding all the way from down here. You're not really worried about your position, when your entry is all the way down here. That's why your entry is so important, because it's really going to decide, how much anxiety you're going to have about the trade, because no matter what, you're going to see your money move. It is going to induce a level of emotion. It doesn't matter if you're like literally a robot, like it's just human nature that you're going to feel those things. So, the people in mashallah, they're not really worried right now. They get to kind of sit comfy on their position. If you want to take a grand off, 2 grand off, 3 grand off, as you're moving up, and you have that on the side just for yourself so that you're paid, that no matter what, whatever it was that you put in, you got your initials out times five, times three, whatever you want to pull out for yourself. But like I said, the people in mashallah, their entry is just so good that there's nothing to worry about at 18 million, especially when you have this kind of volume and you still have the potential of that rumor being confirmed or something being said about it. So I definitely agree that I wouldn't be surprised if we could see another leg, uh, you know, continue this aggression and go up higher, because obviously, as you and I both know, even though it looks like it in meme coins, things do not actually just go only up. There has to be a period of cooling off before you can get another parabolic run like that.
Of course, and we're just talking about very, very micro analysis. We're just basing everything off of like literally the fucking 5 minute chart here, as you guys can see. So, I mean, every time I see something around this level of volume, and I don't even think this is 24-hour volume. Like this token has not even been out for 12 hours, I think, and it already has that much volume. So, when we look at tokens with that much volume in that time frame, sitting at only this market cap, again, it's just really insane to me. I mean, every single time we've seen tokens at around this volume level, it's either just completely orchestrated by market makers and volume bots, or it's just completely organic. And as we can see here, 19,000 holders, really good holder distribution. I haven't even taken a look into this yet completely myself, but again, things like this are just meant for a higher run up. And again, I hope that people are not coming to this video and buying the tokens that we're talking about, because there's quite literally like 500,000 new tokens that launch every single day. So, obviously there's a lot of opportunity, but yeah, I think that a token like this would just have another crazy leg up, because again, people are just reaccumulating at these levels, and it went down quite a bit. And as we can see, even as we're talking here, this token is just primed for a fucking rip, and it has literally been going up as we talk about it. So, pretty funny.
Yep. Yeah, and like you said, you see 18,000 holders, you see 142 million volume, you see that they've got the boost going, that it's only 12 hours old, that they're number 10 trending, all of these things, and you, like I said, right, is a good trader, if you look at the people in martial law, no one is just saying, oh yeah, there was a rumor, so I bought it. They're putting in all of these different pieces so that when you buy, you can feel safe. You're not having that panicking where you're jumping in and out of the trade, because I can't tell you how many times I see someone bought the right coin, but the emotions of it fluctuating, they're buying and selling constantly throughout that, and they're burning their cash supply. They don't even know it. They're burning it through fees, and it's tough to see. And like you said, no one should be buying this coin, especially considering where I just told you, that we were able to get in the group. You don't want to be buying that high up without at least having an informed decision, or buying at a logical level.
100%. I'm really, really curious to see by the time I release this video where that token will be, because this is a really interesting token. It's one of those, once every couple days type of token. So this is really interesting. But yeah, let's get into your next play for sure, where you've probably had some crazy gains and had a really good PNL.
Yeah, so this one, I want to focus mostly about the time aspect because, the quicker that you can get profits, the less emotions you have to deal with and the quicker you get paid. So this is going to be, this is one of those ones that's kind of, if this one is posted, someone's going to say that, this one's kind of more degen, kind of allocate a smaller position size to it because obviously, something with conviction, you want to put some more ammo behind, but something like this is meant to be a quick play. So in under 40 minutes, pretty much in 30 minutes, 1,500%, going from 97K market cap all the way to 1.58 million market cap. And like I said, right, there's these coins that if you're not around, if you're not around for one that you don't have like super high conviction in, and this is just like a daily trade to kind of boost up your portfolio for those better coins, you could get very easily wrecked. But, the people in Mashallah Discord, when we see this type of action and we see what wallets are selling inside of here, it really gives us the information that we need to say, okay, this is it. This is where it's finally topping out. Going from 100K market cap all the way to 1.5 million in under 40 minutes is honestly quite absurd. And you can see here that the volume was at 3 million. So this is one of those, it's a degen gamble play, but doesn't even matter. If you put a little bit of chunk of change, you have 1,500% in under pretty much 30 minutes. Like I said, there's people that trade in traditional finance markets like gold or the stock market or whatever you want to, and with leverage, in forex, whatever, they have to wait like years before like seeing these kinds of returns. And to see it under 34 minutes is like literally watching a 4 year cycle unfold in the matter of minutes. So that's a pretty crazy one, I think.
I would say that this one too is probably reserved for more experienced traders to be getting into those like ultra low market cap, not as much crazy volume type of play. So obviously you're more experienced, so you were able to capitalize on this token for sure. But I mean, in generality, like I don't think the average person would be able to. Properly play this token correctly if they were just trading by themselves, and this is why it's just so important to be around a group of guys that really know what they're doing and are really able to give you those pointers and tell you exactly what's going on. Because you know I would even say an advanced trader could look at this and just really not understand what's going on, and there's a lot of information aspect that's applied to these plays that again a trader just can't have. Like you need to be more than a trader, you need to be a person that's accumulating information, looking at more than just the actual chart, looking at the volume, looking at the holders, looking at the distribution, looking at the dev wallet, looking at everything, right? There's just so many different moving factors, their Twitter, yada yada yada. There's so many moving factors here, which is just why you cannot be trading alone. You could be successful trading alone, but again, it's just an insanely small pool of people that are able to trade these properly without any
Mhm.
other outside extended factors into their arsenal. So you definitely need that entire tool set to be able to be pulling these types of things off correctly. 15x here in literally what did you say, 34 minutes, which is pretty crazy.
Actually, I labeled it wrong. In under 30 minutes, 23 minutes. And it's also important to think about it ran up 1,500% in 23 minutes and it erased all of it in 7 minutes. So, like you said, even for me, even as someone as experienced as me, I can't tell you how much help I get from having other experienced people kind of watch, they're also making me aware of maybe any cognitive biases that I might have that I'm maybe like getting a little bit married to the coin. Because I mean, you pay me 1,500% on anything in under 30 minutes, I might marry it because that's, like I said, it's pretty ridiculous. And you can see how quick it was able to erase those gains just as fast as it gave them. But luckily, I was able to get out somewhere inside of this cluster of price action thanks to some of the guys in Mashallah letting me know that a lot of the wallets that had propped this thing up in the first place are getting out now. So that gave me the perfect signal that I can fully exit and I'm done. I close my chart and I'm done.
Yeah, this is awesome, dude. Can you go over like maybe one more of your big plays. I think maybe Peanut you wanted to show or something else. Peanut's one that a lot of people are gonna definitely recognize.
Peanut, that one was definitely good too. Um, let's see. I would probably bring it back to Tucker just because it's one of those ones that is within the realm of Peanut. So, like I said, on the Freedom Farm, Tucker is the very first dog that was there. You know, there's a horse, there's a chicken. So there was something kind of easy about the fact that look, we all know that dogs kind of rule the space, maybe even more so than cats. You know, that they've got Doge, you've got Shib, you've got Bonk, you've got Whiff. It's, you know, the dogs kind of get like this a little bit of like extra special privilege. So you know, when I see that, you know, Tucker is the first dog on Peanut's Freedom Farm, and I see that Peanut's sitting around like what, like 1.7 billion, 1.8 billion right now, it makes you really think about the potential behind a coin like this. And you know, here we go with another 1,500%, 617K market cap all the way to 10 million. And as you can see, doesn't even necessarily look like it's over. It actually still looks like it's still got some gas left. And you can use those other coins as kind of like you know, as a metric. You know, Fred is at around 90 million. You know, Peanuts at 1.7 billion. Cheyenne, the horse on the Freedom Farm, is at like 45 million, somewhere around there. So if you think about it, this is the meta, and we have to think about what coins are going to be the spearhead of this meta. And I think that definitely this one was a pretty good call out in the martial art Discord. Um,
15x here. That's super good.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And in a day, you know, and I think it's important that we reiterate one more time, like, you're not going to be, like, if someone is brand new to this, you're not going to be able to walk in here and get these types of plays under your belt. Like, it's just not going to happen. You know, you have people amassing all the right information to catch these things. You know, we're going over wins right now. And it, you know, these types of gains, they don't come without work.
They don't, for sure not. They don't. Um, so I mean, even for this, for Tucker, I mean, you're obvious, like you have a very obvious thesis, which is, you know, the whole peanut family. You want to have more exposure to like the to the extension of the peanut family. Obviously, as we know, within, you know, cryptonomics is what, you know, we can call it here. If peanut shoots up to 5 billion, Tucker is going to easily touch 20 million, and that's just undeniable. As long as, you know, the team here is not selling their bags, we have good holder distribution, we have good volume. The liquidity pool is obviously increasing as the volume goes up, and as the market cap goes up, volume will increase, or liquidity pools will increase to basically protect that chart. Um, but I mean, is there anything else that you want to give here for this chart?
I think that you know, just so that the beginners kind of have something to take with them, you know, because you know whether or not they surround themselves with the right people or not, you know, the whole purpose of us even really making this video is to kind of help people out, and to give them some insights into what it takes to be successful in these markets. You know, you need to size appropriately so that you're not, you know, shaking in your boots every time you make a play. And you need to know how to open up a chart. You know, I think one of the best things that Martial Art Discord offers, the mentorship program, to be able to kind of teach you really like all of the bare bone things on how to navigate these markets and then build upon it. And knowing what are the logical levels that you should be adding at, where should you be taking things off, is so helpful. But you know, even, you know, there's sometimes simple methods work as well. You know, you can see that there's a simple trend line here, and it's not so that I can take a trade off of every single time it touches it, but just to remind me that, hey, we are still in an uptrend, and until I see a major shift in structure or maybe a break of the trend line, and I got in all the way down here, you know, there's no really reason for me to get out of this, especially when you catch one of those big winners. You know, you need to be able to know how to hold, how to TP, and it's something that everyone should be really focusing on. Your position size and your risk management, because capital preservation in this game is absolutely everything. That's why we put in so much work to go into all the details, and we are contributing something together so that we can have strong theses that we're not going to be swindling back and forth. We're going to either stay confident or we're all going to get out together.
Awesome. Can we go to the peanut chart too?
Yeah, if you were looking at this one, this was actually the Alex Becker coin
Oh,
that came out recently.
yeah, I saw that
But
one.
yeah, and see something like that where it's based off of a rumor, your profit taking needs to be aggressive. But we can definitely pull up the peanut chart just to, we've mentioned so many different coins uh, when it comes to, being related to peanut, that I mean, like, this is just a daily chart, meaning that every single one of these candles represents one day.
And
And
this
if I go
token
down
literally
here,
just came out this month too, which is so crazy. Like this token
yeah,
came out this month, right? And it's
yep,
already it already hit a $2.5 billion market cap. And that's obviously because of, you know, it was listed on major exchanges, this and that. But I mean, if you were to get an early entry, you're basically able to put like little to no money and you're gonna technically see yourself at a level of genuine wealth in meme coin land. So um, yeah, if you want to
I
go over
mean,
it,
like,
if you have any thoughts on this chart, maybe if you want to talk a little bit about this, that'll be good too.
yeah, I mean, like, I don't need to explain to anyone here that this return is just like actually like that's generational wealth. Like your kids, they will be good for the rest of their lives if you bought early into something like this. And this is something that, for the experienced trader, when they see that there's a big deal made about an animal, and a cute one, obviously, he's wearing a cowboy hat. There's a bunch of TikToks, is obviously wrong what the government did and how they handled that situation. That's like an experienced trader is seeing money signs in his eyes, and it makes a lot of sense. If you would have bought uh, even hours after this token came out, assuming that hours even after that happened, you had time to get into something like this. Obviously, you can't predict this type of run up, but like I said, for the experienced trader, if you caught this one, it's like you kind of knew, like, it just makes sense. If a fat, cute baby hippo Mudang can, run up to 300 mil for just being cute, what do you think is going to happen for an animal like this, and the story and the lore behind it, the narrative being so strong. And then watching Elon Musk talk about it, like I mentioned earlier, they're just all, it bolsters the confluence to levels to where it's like that. Like I said, experienced traders knew that, whether it was already at 80 million or 400 million, it's like you just knew, like, this thing's gonna pop off. And if there's anyone out there that actually has like good experience in trading, one thing I will say, and I'm not going to say too much because I think the mentorship, is, it just offers so much value in terms of knowing how the markets book, that liquidity books the same across all markets. Doesn't matter if it's memes or not. You can see these inefficiencies here. What happens when we touch them? Uh, you can see that you get a pretty aggressive run. Once it's very clear to everyone that, like, okay, this is obviously an uptrend. Like, even the trend line can't even like depict like how aggressive this is. But you can see this is an imbalance here where this is just all buying. It taps into these orders, it runs up, does the same thing, runs up. And you really have to look at things like that, that what's the origin of the pump. Some, if I could give something to the people that are experienced traders, what is the origin of the expansion? Because it's very important to pay attention to, and you can use them uh, to measure. If you saw this get flipped, you can just take this as a normal support and resistance. If we get back above, you can expect all-time highs. But like I said, I won't give too many secrets from the mentorship, but just thought it would be worth mentioning for anyone that, like I said, they know how liquidity books. And, kind of like how you mentioned earlier, you knew that this coin was going to start moving up, right?
Oh, look at it.
So it's
It's
like,
moving up nicely.
yep, exactly. So just goes to show. But yeah, that's Peanut. That's the ridiculous multiple that you could have gotten if you would have bought, not even just when it came out, but literally hours before, or hours after. You could have made a ridiculous amount of money. Anyone that's not taking advantage of these markets, like if you have the opportunity to know about these markets, you're already like put in such a much better position than the people that are just trading Solana right now. That's already like that has such a high market cap that even if you buy it, unless you have deep pockets, you're not really gonna make a really enticing amount of money like you would here.
Yeah, and again, I would just say too with like price action and obviously how these charts move, it's completely different based off the fact if let's per se we're talking about a peanut compared to like let's per se that Trump token that you were just showing us earlier. Like it's just
Mm,
completely different ways that those charts move, obviously based off of market conditions, based off of traders. But if we're looking here at this token, obviously I'm gonna come to assume that the devs don't have all the supply. If I were to just come to an assumption there, this
mm,
chart is moving based off of how obviously one we have a little bit of retail in there, which retail is not technically trading at a high velocity. We have majority are actual Solana degens slash Solana whales that are buying into this with conviction, and we can see that a lot of them are holding, which is why the chart is holding up. But then we can also see an accumulation phase, which is why obviously we can see this little dip, and it had the resistance level around what 12 13 million, and then we can see a reaccumulation phase, and that's just more people getting in, right? That's just more wallet
right.
distribution, that's more holders, that's more strength within the community. And that's why we see these charts move different than let's per se something like Peanut, which is now owned majority by market makers, exchanges, whales. So those charts are just going to move different. And obviously we can see if we were to look at Peanut when it was in its early stages, it was moving probably a lot more similar to this Trump token that we're looking at right now, before all
Yep.
the VCs, before all the big deep pockets started buying in. And again, it's just completely different ways that those charts move. And I don't know anyone that's going to try to day trade Peanut, but I definitely know someone that's going to try to day trade this other Trump token, BOCT, whatever you want to call it. So um, yeah, I just wanted to put that out there because it's just two completely different ball games that you're playing if you're going to try to day trade either or. And I'd completely rather trade a BOCT token than a Peanut token because I can actually understand what's happening a lot more. I can really understand the market sentiment, what CT is saying, what these groups are saying, and you have a lot better of a resonance and a lot better of a performance and hit rate if you were to pay attention to those factors onto tokens like this, which are still majority owned by the community in Wales. We can see that's so crazy. We were first looking at it at 18 mil market cap. Now it's at 25. So as you guys can see, it's moving up nicely. And if we continue to see these volume levels as this token's only 12 hours old, I think it's just going to keep moving higher and higher. And as we see more news come out about it, it's probably going to be hitting that 50 million level pretty soon. But yeah, I mean, is there anything else that you wanted to go over regarding any of these charts? And by the way, guys, please leave a like on the video. Show some love for Grim for really going over all this. I'm going to have to bring him back, and we're going to go over some more charts. We're going to go over some more factors that we're looking at when we're buying into these tokens because this is all definitely in depth, but I don't think you guys understand how in depth it can really get when you have your entire thesis building process on why you should be buying or selling or DCAing into certain tokens because it just gets really, really complicated to be able to explain it here all in one video. But if we were to actually go over a process where we're really breaking down one token, I think it would really help you guys out a lot more. So we're definitely going to do that in a different video. But is there anything else you wanted to go over, Grim?
Yeah, on a final note, I think that, like you said, we could get really in depth on not just what it is that we're doing, but the systems that we're employing, because systems make everything, right? That I can say I can come in here with kind of like a checklist mindset, and once I check enough boxes, I'm ready to go in. I think is some final notes. I think being aware of the meta and being cautious of meta shifts is something that you really need to you need to kind of develop the skill and intuition for. Obviously finding good information sources. Shout out mashallah, this is a place that I've gotten so many of my plays, and that I've literally like been able to really change my life, not even just for me but for my family. Just being able to, I have these other guys here that are doing just as much as work as I am, if not more. And they're really giving me the sauce, and I can't say like how grateful I am for that, because when you start getting these multiples, and you start getting this kind of money that you never really imagined. Maybe you thought before that you were going to work a job, that you were going to get paid $20 an hour. Like, we're making people's salaries over here, and that's something to be extremely grateful for. So definitely find good information sources, a place where there's tools, where there's experienced, like-minded people trying to achieve the same thing that you are. Always remember that birds of a feather flock together. Develop your ability to find logical entries, exits, and TPs. Always use a chart. Even if you don't even know what you're doing, it's just better to look at a chart than to just be in it blind. And it may even take some considering. Maybe you want to invest in something like the Mashallah mentorship, so that you can get those tools to that when you look at a chart, you know what you're looking at. Um, but yeah, I think that that's pretty much it for me. And thanks for having me. I super appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave all your socials and all that down below in the description as well. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I think we went over some really important information, which actually applies not just to beginners, not just to intermediates, but also to experts. There's always more info for anyone to learn. I mean, even for myself too, just really understanding these markets for many years and just consistently being able to pull out, obviously I'm very blessed to be able to pull out the amount of profits that I do every single year consistently, just because I understand these markets so well. I'm not even just saying this because I think I'm a good trader or this and that. I'm not ever saying that. I never claimed I was a good trader, even though it just happens to be that I've pulled millions from my P&L every single year off trading, which is a big coincidence because I don't even consider myself a trader. But when we look at this type of stuff, there's obvious indicators, there's obvious factors, and there's obvious rules in place that we have that enable us to be successful constantly over and over and over every single cycle, every single new trend that comes out. We're the first ones on top of it. So I think the final things that I'll say here is I'll see you guys in the Discord, and thank you so much, Grim.